County. We welcome you to tonight's debate. It's good to see a crowd here this evening. And tonight's debate is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Lackawanna County and the University of Scranton Political Science Department. I want to tell you a little bit about the League. The League is nonpartisan, which means that we do not support or oppose any political party or candidate. The mission of the League of Women Voters is to promote political responsibility through the informed and active participation by citizens in their government. We encourage you to join the League. Membership information can be found in your program. Please also support our work by making a donation on your way out. Donations will help us to continue to offer events such as this. And you can see one of our volunteers with a blue collection box. There you go. Greg's holding one of them up. And we would appreciate any small support that you can give us on your way out. We also encourage you to check out our website, lvwlackawanna.org. And on our website, you will find links to taped interviews. There will be the interview of the mayoral debate from Tuesday night. And also we have taped, that was Tuesday night was a debate that we taped, and you will find that in its entirety on our website. We also have interviews of candidates for Lackawanna County Sheriff, Lackawanna County Recorder of Deeds and Register of Wills, and Scranton Tax Collector interviews that we did one-to-one with candidates, and you will find those taped interviews via links from our website. Just a few procedural items for the audience. Please turn off and silence your phones or other devices. And please be aware of our media policy that no person, candidate, or political group is allowed to use or edit any media from the League of Women Voters event for campaign purposes. Any use of the media requires the express written approval of the League of Women Voters of Lackawanna County. The audio or video must be broadcast in its entirety except by legitimate media reporting on events. Please be aware of upcoming events. On Saturday, November 16th, the University of Scranton, in partnership with the Center for American Women in Politics at Rutgers, is hosting Ready to Run Northeast Pennsylvania, and you'll find that information. There's a link in your program. And of course, don't forget to vote on Tuesday, November 5th. I would like to introduce our moderator, Andrea Mullrine. Currently a board member at the League of Women Voters of Lackawanna County, will serve as moderator for tonight's event. Andrea is past president of our league for many, many years, and she's certainly a tough act to follow. She's currently employed by the Commonwealth Medical College. Thank you, Andrea, for your contribution this evening.
Thank you, Diana, and welcome to everyone. Just a couple of details about the forum this evening. This will be approximately a 90-minute debate. All candidates will answer the same set of questions, and no questions were given in advance. There are no opening statements from the candidates. All questions will have a specified response time limit. We're allowing 2 rebuttals or additional time to answer questions for each candidate at their will. They can use it or not at their choice, and you don't build it up and get to use it for the closing. I forgot to say that before too. They can use it either as in 1-minute increments or together. And we ask that you hold your applause throughout the debate until the end of your candidate's closing statement, so that we can move through the questions. There are a lot of candidates here, and this is a really truly important race. So we want to make sure that we have time to get through everything. The rationale for our questions: the League of Women Voters believes that democratic government depends upon the informed and active participation of its citizens. This requires that governmental bodies protect the citizens' right to know by giving adequate notice of proposed actions, holding open meetings, and making public records accessible. In addition, we believe that responsible government should be responsive to the will of the people, and that it requires integrity and accountability. Before I introduce our candidates this evening, I want to talk just a little bit about the job of the school board. Scranton School Board is comprised of 9 members who are elected at large and in odd-numbered years. This year, we will elect 4 directors, and 2 years from now, we'll elect another 5. The terms are staggered so that the entire board is not replaced in one single election year. This year, there is also a special election to fill the unexpired term of Sean O'Shea, who resigned in April. This position will serve for 2 years. Because of this special election this year, we are actually right now electing the majority of the Scranton School Board in November. And then in addition, Nathan Barrett recently resigned, and his replacement will soon be named. So there is the potential for quite a bit of change in the school board right now. School board members are elected volunteers. They are not paid for their services. However, they set and manage a budget of more than $120 million. It is more than the city of Scranton's budget at $109 million, and it is more than the county's budget at almost $91 million. The school board is more than just a policy board. They hire and fire the superintendent, they hire and fire principals, teachers, and all other positions in the district. The school board has an enormous impact on the life of our community. They're responsible for the buildings and the grounds of all the district schools, and they're responsible really for the lives of our children, economic development, and overall quality of life in the city of Scranton. Their decisions have lasting impact on all of us. This is considered a nonpartisan position because school directors can cross-file to appear on both the Democratic and Republican ballots in the primary. And frequently, the decisions are made in the primary because all the open seats are filled by candidates who won on both tickets. This year, we have a contested race in the November election, and that's the reason that we are here tonight. So first of all, let me say thank you, candidates, for being here and for your willingness to run for office and serve. I'd like to introduce our candidates now. Robert Casey is running as a Democrat. He's a graduate of Scranton High School and expects to graduate this spring from East Stroudsburg University with a degree in interdisciplinary studies in the fields of business management, history, and political science. He is presently employed by Garrity's on Meadow Avenue in customer service. Kyle Donahue is running as a Democrat. He's a graduate of Bishop Hannon High School, received degrees in political science and public communication from Temple University. He is presently self-employed as a political consultant and has worked on several different political campaigns. Cy Duwaihi is running on both the Democratic and the Republican tickets. He graduated from Scranton Central High School, received a bachelor's degree in political science and history from St. Francis College, and a master's degree in easy for me to say, managerial science from Marywood University. He is retired as a teacher from the Scranton School District and as a teacher at Scranton Hebrew Day School and also as a teacher at Milton Eisner Yeshiva High School, but he is currently an adjunct professor here at the University of Scranton. He is serving now as a Scranton School Board member. He was appointed to this position in April of 2013 to fill the unexpired term of Sean O'Shea, and that's that 2-year term that we're going to be electing this evening. Bob Lush is running as a Republican. He received his GED from Scranton School District, welding certificate from Johnson School of Technology, and trowel trades and building maintenance certificates from the Career Technology Center. He is currently on the Scranton School Board, serving in his 4th term, and he is a past president of the school board. He served as president for 2 years, and Bob Lush is also a Marine Corps veteran. Bob, thank you for your service. Carol Lesky is running as a Republican. She graduated from West Scranton High School and Empire Beauty School. She is presently employed as a paraprofessional at Northeastern Educational Intermediate Unit, and she has more than 25 years of experience as a foster parent with more than 100 children enrolled in the Scranton School District. She is a past PTA president at numerous Scranton schools and neighborhood crime watch groups. Bob Sheridan is on both the Democratic and Republican tickets. He received his GED from Scranton School District and Act 120 program advanced police courses at the former Lackawanna Junior College. He is a retired Scranton police officer. He is the owner of DNS Auto Sales, and he is also a Lackawanna County Deputy Constable. He is currently the acting president of the Scranton School Board, and he is also president of the Dutch Hollow Neighborhood Association. And finally, I'd like to mention that Mark Mcandrew could not be with us this evening. He he had a teaching engagement that he was made him unable to attend. But I do want to say that he's running as a Democrat. He has been a resident of Scranton since 1962, graduated from West Scranton High School, received an associate's degree in culinary arts from the Culinary Institute of America, and a vocational certificate from Temple University. He is a Pennsylvania Department of Education certified educator, and he is employed as a culinary arts instructor at the Career Technology Center of Lackawanna County and as a culinary and pastry arts instructor at Luzerne County Community College. So that is our candidate list for this very important office. And before we began, we drew names, and so we have Bob Lesh will answer the first question first, and then we'll move it around Robin. And then we also drew a name for the closing, so that will change. So the first question to Bob Lesh this evening, and I'm going to ask you about your candidacy, Bob. And this is actually a two-part question. So the first question, I want you to focus on just this. Why do you want this job, this supposedly part-time job with no pay? I'm going to ask you about your skills. That's going to be the second. What do you bring to the table? But why do you want to be a school director? And you've got 90 seconds on your response time.
Well, first of all, I'm a Scrantonian, a very proud Scrantonian.
Can you pull your microphone in, please?
First of all, I'm a Scrantonian. I'm a very proud Scrantonian. And you know, I have a lot of interest as far as education for our children. Growing up, you know, I came from a low-income family, didn't have a lot of opportunities. As you know, I have a GED, and after that, I joined the United States Marine Corps. And after that, I went out and worked for a living, began to raise a family and so forth. Didn't have a lot of opportunity to continue my education. So it's very important to me that you know, our kids get the best education possible. And that is one of the reasons why, and one of the most important reasons why I want to be a school director and continue to be a school director.
All right, thank you. Carol, the question goes to you, and again, please focus on why do you want to be a school director?
Well, I have a proven record as a mom and a foster mom with putting over 100 children through the Scranton School District. I have been able to see the insides of our school. I've been able to work with parents, I've been able to work with teachers, administration, and I know how the insides of our school work. I believe I could bring a lot to the table with that experience, having over 100 children and 6 children of my own. I have much experience as far as our school district is concerned. I would like to give back to the district what the district has given to my children, and I would appreciate. Thank you so much. First of all, I'm sorry, but the League of Women Voters, I want to thank you for allowing me here.
Our pleasure. Bob Sheridan, the question to you, please again focus on why do you want to be a school director?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me here today to the Women's League of Voters. And I apologize for my voice. I'm just getting over a cold, so if I can't hear me, please let me know and I'll speak up. I want to stay as a school director and an current school director. Like Bob Lesh said before, I come from a poorer family too when I was younger, and education was a little bit harder than it is today. My mom died when I was 16 years old. I had a 4-year-old sister, and my brother was in the Marine Corps, and it was a decision. I either had to get out of school and take care of the family, or continue in school. And at that point, my family was more important. My 4-year-old sister was more important. I returned to school and got my GED and followed through. Ever since then, I wanted to make sure that my children and every child in this city gets a good, quality education. And that's why I ran 4 years ago, and that's why I've worked very hard in the last 4 years to make sure that we have good, quality education for all our children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Robert Casey, the question to you again, why do you want to be a school director?
Thank you. Throughout the entire campaign, I've been asked one question. Why, at the age of 23, would I want to get involved in politics and running for the school board? And the answer has always been the same. I've always been interested in it. I want to stay in Scranton. I have a lot of friends that went to schools throughout the entire country, and none of them want to come back, and it disheartens me with that opinion. I want to get involved now. I want to make a difference for the future so that my children have the best possible education when that time comes. I want to get involved now. I want to get involved right away, and I want to make sure that I have a voice, and I don't want to leave it up to someone else. So we'll be out of here someday when I know that I'm going to be staying in Scranton for the next 40, 50, 60 years. Thank you.
Okay, Kyle, the same question to you. Why do you want to be a school director?
Well, like Rob said, I have a lot of friends too that, are in different areas and just never really came back to the area. And one of the things I think we need to do to attract new businesses and to keep younger people in the area is to have a transparent and respectful government. All too often you open the paper after a school board meeting and you're embarrassed by the way they conduct themselves. It's embarrassing to the city of Scranton and to the children who they're in charge of looking over their education. And one of the things I think you need to do to establish good government is to be as transparent as possible. And in a technological age, it's not as hard as it may have been 20, 30 years ago to get information out to the public through the website, through a bunch of different forms or mediums. But I think that the main thing is that each and every school director must respect the opinions of every single person that comes in front of the school board and take those opinions to develop an educated policy or whatever they might be discussing at that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Cy, the same question. Why do you want to be a school director?
First, thanks to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity tonight. Why I want to be a school director, I'm a product of the system. I graduated Scranton Central. I've spent 35 years professionally in the system. It is my home. I owe a great deal to the Scranton School District. It gave me the opportunity to perform the best job that anyone could have ever given me. I could not have been happier going to work every day than I was. We are faced with some very tough decisions at a very difficult time. We've been hit with 3 straight draconian budgets from the governor. We have faced cuts of over $16 million in the last 3 years, and we have some huge decisions to make and some very pressing problems with that as a factor. I want to be part of it. I'm certain that my experience and my current position with the university gives me a unique perspective, and I will be able to help. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Carol, you'll be the first person to answer this question. Now I want to talk about your skills. So wanting the job and having the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do it well are 2 different things. This is a group of 9 people. What do you bring to the group of 9 that will improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the Scranton School Board? What are you going to bring to the voters?
Well, first of all, being a mom, I think that being inside our schools, moms are very involved, not that dads aren't, but very involved, and I've been inside our schools. I served as a PTA president. I've worked in our classrooms. I've seen what our teachers are doing and how hard they're working, and I see where improvements need to be made. I think that sometimes we have a little bit of wasteful spending, and as a mom, I'm a good budgeter, and I would like to bring my skills as budgeting to the board. I also feel that education is extremely important to me. And having over 100 children that went through the Scranton School District, I've been through many of their programs that they offer. So I think that I can give a lot of information on what I feel changes could be made as far as those are concerned. Education is extremely important to me, and I feel that I can give back to that education. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bob Sheridan, the same question to you.
Yes. Excuse me. Yes, ma'am. I've been a successful businessman.
Bob, can you pull that microphone closer, please?
No, I'm sorry. I've been a successful businessman in Scranton for over 14 years now. I'm a retired Scranton police officer. I'm the president of the Dutch Hollow Neighborhood Association. I have an insight not only with the neighborhoods of the inside of what neighbors want and taxpayers are asking for and the taxpayers deserve, but the inside of a businessman. A businessman, like the school board, like the county, like the city, is like a business. We run a budget. Like you said, we ran a $120 million budget. You have to know where you have to cut, where you have to shave, but yet have good quality education for every child out there. So with my business success, I think that's the insight that I have that can contribute to the school district.
Okay, thank you. Rob Casey, the same question to you. What skills and abilities do you bring to the table?
I don't have a lot of experience. I know that. I'm not going to sit here and try to fool you. I'm just finishing school. So I can't say that I own a business or, like Carol said, I'm not a parent. But I do work at Garrity's on Meadow Avenue at customer service, and I get quite a bit of complaints from people, not dealing with outside, but inside the store. And I'm able to solve problems when I'm there. Also, I hear a lot of problems that people are concerned with throughout the schools when they come to me, and I'm not afraid to listen to them. I'm not afraid to take their advice with their problems that they have. I'm taking business courses at East Stroudsburg, and I've been dealing a little bit with budgeting and ways that business practices are involved in everyday life. I know I have a lot to learn, and I'm not afraid to learn when I get in there, and to surround myself with the people who could best give me these answers. So thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, the same question to you. What do you bring to the table?
Over the course of the last 10 years, I've worked with differing candidates and public officials, and I believe I've learned from the best on how to effectively represent people, how to effectively listen to people, and take everything into account before you're making a decision. All too often, people are cynical of politics. But in reality, politics is the way we govern ourselves. And I think there's a much better way and a more transparent way than what we currently have, that we could govern ourselves in a more effective manner. Thank you.
Okay. Cy, the same question. What do you bring to the table?
My basis of experience, my strength is in the classroom, both in the district itself, as a secondary teacher, and here at the university, as well as the fact that in my capacity here, in the last 9 years, I supervise student teachers in the field. So it takes me to every single school district in northeastern Pennsylvania in the last 10 years. I see how they're dealing with, especially in the last 3, how they're dealing with budget cuts. I see how they're dealing with the high-stakes testing. I see how all of our surrounding neighbors are dealing with the Common Core rollout and the new curriculum standards. These are the things that I know give me a unique perspective, having been an educator for the last 44 years. Thank you.
Okay. And Bob, the same question to you, please. Bob Lush.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Ladies Women's League of Voters, which I failed to do before, and our gracious announcer. Well, I have 16 years experience. I have 16 years of experience of making decisions, of balancing budgets, of making, we built a new high school. I was there for that. We built new elementary schools. I was there for that. In my tenure, we have probably done close to $120 million. I would call it a renaissance in the Scranton School District. We have put out big-ticket items that have never done before in the last 3 years. We put out our health care. We hired a new consultant. We put out our banking for bid. Okay, we put out our our utilities for bidding. These have saved us enormous amounts of money. I have been through 4 teachers' contracts, 4 clerical contracts, 4 contracts with our custodians, all successfully, I'm looking for the word, negotiated. Thank you, Cy. I don't mind saying I'm a little nervous. But I've done these things over the past 16 years. And negotiating these contracts are not easy.
Thank you, Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're going to move on to the next question now. And Bob Sheridan, you'll answer this question first. I want to talk about the most important thing about academic success. That's why we're all here. How well do you feel the Scranton schools are educating our children? And in your assessment, will the district have any difficulty meeting the level of the No Child Left Behind goal of 100% proficiency in math and reading by 2014? And you have 2 minutes to respond to this question, so feel free to elaborate.
Well, we have several plans that just,
Can you pull that microphone in, please? We can't hear you.
we have several plans that we just implemented and are working, and they're working very well in the math and the science area, and there's different plans that we are working with right now, and with the school district that are really coming out strong. I keep an strong eye on the academic part of our students, where we're going and how the plans are working. And I think that in the last few years, since our board here has been working with that plan, it's been working very well.
Okay, thank you. Rob Casey, the same question to you, please.
I am proud of the Scranton School District. As you know, I graduated in 2008 from Scranton High School, and I think it prepared me for where I am right now. I'm running in the general for the Scranton School Board, so I can say full-heartedly that it is working. And I just left the system, and I'm in East Stroudsburg right now, and I think that we continue to need funding from Governor Tom Corbett and the future governors, that if you cut education, we will not be able to meet the success and 100% efficiency that it is calling for. And I hear it every day from my mother. She's a teacher at McNichols Plaza for ESL. And she tells me how difficult it is every day to meet those standards, but I know that they're doing everything in their power right now, and I would love to be a part of that. So I could say right now that I believe that with funding to train our teachers to meet these standards, that we will one day hit 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, the same question to you. How are we doing educating our children, and will we meet the goal of 100% proficiency in math and reading by 2014?
Well, the State Department of Education just recently passed new Common Core standards that require high school seniors to be up to date in algebra, I think it's Algebra 1, Biology 1, and Writing Composition by 2017. And what this is, just like No Child Left Behind, it's another unfunded mandate by the state. The state says you have to meet these standards, by a certain period, or your funding's going to be cut, but they don't give you the funding necessary to actually achieve those goals. One of the differing parts of Common Core is that it takes teaching practices away from more memorization techniques and fact-based, and brings in more critical thinking. And one of the problems that imposes on especially older teachers is redeveloping skills that can teach critical thinking. So we need to look at ways and develop long-term strategic plans that will look at the progress we're making and how we could get that funding into the classroom instead of being out doing something else with it.
Okay, thank you. Sai, the same question to you. How are we doing?
Well, as I said earlier, the budget cuts make everything more difficult. That exacerbates our situation. I believe that the Common Core rollout provides us with, as opposed to No Child, which was 100%, across the board proficiency, was unattainable. It was not doable, it won't be doable, and ultimately everyone would fail, not just here. The Common Core gives us an opportunity to make marks that are realistic. And the district has engaged already, our administrators have engaged in planning, as well as the seminar-based workshops, introducing our new everyday math program, introducing our new reading program with the Wilson basis. These are all things that take us in the right direction. But I would question the idea that older teachers can't teach critical thinking. That I would take great issue with. Thank you.
All right. Bob Lush, the same question to you, and please pull that microphone over. Thank you.
Well, again, for 16 years, I've seen a lot of unfunded mandates come from the state. I think, as far as No Child Left Behind, it was a complete failure. You commingled students of all different educational skills into a room and expected a teacher to do miracles. We don't have a traditional classroom as we had back in the day when I attended school. You don't have the traditional families as back 30, 40 years ago. The classroom is a whole different environment. The teachers are more apt to be social workers than teachers at times. So, as far as No Child Left Behind, I believe it's a failure. As far as the core plan, that hasn't been implemented yet. I don't have a lot to say about it, but I have heard some things, and one of the things that really discouraged me about it is it's not focused a lot on the past history of this country. It's focused on the future history of this country. And this country is so proud of its past, and we have built upon our past. That's one of the things that I believe is lacking in our school now. And that's something that needs to be implemented with this core if this is to go through.
Okay, thank you. And Carol Lesky, the same question to you.
Thank you. Improving student achievement is a main thing that I focused on this election. We expect our teachers to perform to the top of their ability, but we're not giving them the tools that they need to do so. If they need training, if they need materials, we're sharing textbooks, we need to put that into our classroom. We need to put our money into our classrooms. The No Child Left Behind is a strain on our teachers and on our children. It's a struggle every day. Every day we have children who are at all different levels that are struggling to keep up with the ones who are at a higher level. It also puts a strain on our teachers. Our teachers are trying to give the best to all of our students, and it makes it extremely difficult. I feel it's one of the worst things that has happened. And our budget, our money is constantly being cut, so we have to find ways to cut back and put back into our classrooms. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on now to fiscal health, and Rob, you'll be the first one to answer this question. So we talk all the time about how taxes are too high in the city of Scranton, and all of us who live in Scranton, I'm sure none of us are going to deny that. So you've got a school board now that's talking about cuts from the government, from the state government, which is certainly an issue, and then the pressure of, can we continue to raise taxes in the city of Scranton, which erodes our tax base? So the question for you, for all of you, is what do you feel is the state of the school board's fiscal health? But more importantly, where would you increase or where would you decrease spending? And eliminating wasteful spending, that is not an acceptable answer. You need to be more specific than that, okay? Rob, you get the question first, and you've got 2 minutes.
By eliminating the wasteful spending that you said to go in detail with, I think we need to tighten up business procedures. The way things are now, individual schools, they make purchases on separate things like desks, copiers, fax machines. Things like that, if we bought in bulk in the district, would be able to save us a bunch of money, and we might be able to get discounts that can maybe be $75 a purchase. But that $75, that adds up over time. That could be thousands of dollars. That's thousands of dollars our district does not have right now. Things like that, new ways of thinking outside the box. Things that we don't every day think of will be able to save us thousands of dollars, just like that. Saving by bulk spending instead of individual spending could save us and bring us a lot of money back into the district that we desperately need for textbooks and after-school programs that are not there in the schools right now that could only benefit our children when it comes time to classroom education. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, the same question to you. What is the state of the school board's fiscal health? Where would you increase? Where would you decrease? And not eliminating wasteful spending, which isn't specific enough for us.
Well, I think one of the first problems with the budgeting process is the way it has been done the last few years is they'll come out in November with a budget that says, say for example, 121 million, when the revenue stream will only be 117 million. So what they do is over the course of that month is just cut programs, and they're all requests from, add all the requests from different principals and administrators into one lump sum package. And then what they do is they cut it out and balance out the budget. Instead of doing that, we should be proposing realistic budgets and then have a realistic debate on whether this funding should go here or this funding should go there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cy, the same question to you. What is our fiscal health, and where would you increase or decrease?
In light of what happened in 2008, the fiscal health of the school district is in remarkable shape due to very aggressive bidding processes on our health care, our power, our banking, our tax liens. What was dealt to us as a $5.5 million hole resulted in no tax increase 3 years ago, a 2% tax increase 2 years ago, and no tax increase a year ago. The county hit us with 48%, the city hit us with 100%, the school district increased taxes 2% in 3 years. Remarkable. That's number one. Again, I'd like to correct my young friend. That description of the process is not how it is. That process goes through all the department chairmen, all the supervisors who tell Mr. Sunday's office and Mr. Laffey what they need. And then they have to prioritize, top to bottom. Now, we're dealing with a tremendous deficit in state reimbursement. And it's absolutely been remarkable that we've had a 2% increase in 3 years. Thank you.
All right. Bob Lesh, the question to you.
I tend to agree with Director Donahue. Our spending right now is on target. We reviewed that, I believe it was a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. And what Mr. Donahue refers to as people coming in with a fictional budget is not fictional. It's actually a wish list. It's things they wish they could have. But, it's all about what you really need. Okay? It's not what can you have, it's what you really need. Now, again, we were faced with a $5 million hole. All right? We did the inventive things. We went back to our teachers. We negotiated fairly. We saved $3 million. We went out. We put our utilities out the bid. We saved $1 million there. Our banking, over $600,000 we saved in the last 3 years, where at one time we were paying the bank to take care of our own money. We have been very inventive. We've been very progressive. This has been an out-of-the-box thinking board in the last 3 years. We've had to think outside of the box to bring, and you know what? We have to balance this budget, or the state comes in and balances it for us. We have, over the years, when they promised gambling and so forth, that didn't come without any tails. I mean, I can remember, I believe it was the Homestead legislation, and we participated in that. We signed on to put a cap at raising your taxes. If we were to raise your taxes over a certain amount, all right, we would have to put it to referendum, to put it to the voter for any, and that was to keep us in check. And, and I was all for it. I voted very much in support of it, which ended up with the taxpayers getting less than a $250 rebate, not physically, but they got a discount of $250 off their taxes.
Thank you. Carol Lesky, the same question goes to you now.
Well, I think with all the cutbacks, I think the budget is working pretty good. What I would like to see is look into buying bulk and working with other districts to buy our supplies, even to a paper clip, with other districts. I think that would cut back on an awful lot of money. Again, not being currently on the board and not privy to seeing the budget at this point, I would like to see us buy bigger in bulk, and if I am elected to the board, I will sit down and I will go over everything, and I promise I will make the decision that's best for our taxpayers and our children. Thank you.
And Bob Sheridan, finally, the same question to you.
Yes, I agree with Mr. Casey on we do have to look into different programs for the copiers and a lot of our vendors which way, and let me tell you something, the bidding procedure was the best thing we ever went to, but I have to defer with Mr. Donahue about making cuts to our programs when we started our programs. 4 years ago, from when I came on this, we had school board that were looking at school taxes raising and cutting programs. In the last 3 years, our governor has cut us every year, $5.5 million on the third year. And every year we've been cut programs from the governor. Through that, we worked, this board, along with my colleagues, and we saved every kindergarten program, every sports program, negotiated a fair contract with our teachers, and not one person lost their job in the school district, and we didn't raise taxes. There's not too many school districts in the state of Pennsylvania that can really say that. I think we did a superior job in the last 2 years, and we're looking to save more. Again, like I said, I am agreeing that in the budget, there is stuff that we need to look at and cut to make sure, but education is not the place we cut. It's in the fat, in cutting the vendors, not cutting the vendors, but making sure that we get the best buck for our dollar, and we put things out for bid. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Could I rebut?
Yes.
I would just like to say that, working hard again, at looking at the budgets, working hard again to cooperate with our teachers and listening to their side of the story, okay? We have not lost one day of instruction in our district, okay? That I could say for the last 3 years, that I can definitely say, we have not lost one day of instruction over work stoppage, over budgetary problems. Now, you look around this state, and you're going to see all kinds of problems. You can just take an example by looking down the road to Old Forge and see the labor unrest and the days of education that those kids have missed, valuable days of education. This board has worked very hard to keep our kids in the classroom where they should be, learning. And our teachers have stayed in the classroom and dedicated themselves to teaching our kids.
Okay,
Can I
thank you.
also,
Kyle, sure.
Of course they didn't raise taxes this year, and so it's an election year. But instead they filled the budget gap with over $2 million from the capital improvement budget. The job of solicitor was never bid out to see what best price you can get for a professional service. They're not advertising job openings or hirings. As Mr. Lush said in July, all hirings for clerical and maintenance workers are patronage, and it will never change. Every director gets a pick. That's not what good government is. That's not what a government representing the people should be, how they should be operated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll move on. The next question I'm going to ask pertains to safety. It's, of course, something that we're all concerned about. You hear horrible things that are happening across the nation. So you'll have 90 seconds to respond to this question. Kyle, you'll go first. And how would you assess the safety in our schools, and are there changes that should be made for improvement?
I believe that there are improvements that could be made. I haven't had a chance to actually take a look at what the school district's policy are. I know there's a resource officer in the high school. The district website isn't too up to date with policies on school safety. So I just haven't had a chance to file, because you have to go down for any forms to file a right to know request to receive that information.
Okay, thank you. Cy, the same question to you. How would you assess safety, and are there changes that should be made?
The secondary buildings in the district, the 2 high schools, the 3 intermediate schools, all have SROs assigned to the buildings. The issue that has given me the most concern is that when there is sick time, where we have an SRO that's possibly out with the flu, a back injury, what have you, that we don't have a really consistent policy on replacing that SRO on a substitute basis. I think we could probably do that really quickly with Scranton PD, because they are Scranton police officers. In terms of their relationship with the buildings, the principals, teachers, students, the SROs do a great job. I mean, I can't say enough good things about them. I was still teaching when they first came in. They are a much-needed asset to the district. But I think we could do a better job on how we deal with them when they're absent because of illness or injury. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bob Lush, the same question to you, please.
Well, I would love nothing better to say that, you know, we have 100% safe schools. What I'd like to say here, and which is the truth, we try very, very hard to have our schools 100% safe. It's a very difficult job. We have a lot of buildings. We do have SRO, I'll refer to Mr. Dwight. We do have SRO officers in our schools. We are presently looking at more funding or ways, you know, we're hoping the federal government would come forward since Newtown and offer us some type of funding to hire more police officers in our school. Now, you know, it's not such a fact, you know, that there's a cop in the school, but these cops also act as mentors to our kids. And I think it's a very valuable program. We had a grant called the Safe Schools Grants. We replaced a lot of our entranceways and exitways coming into the buildings. We have done everything to be pro-safety, cameras, everything.
Okay, thank you. Carol Lesky, the same question to you. How safe are our schools, and are there improvements that should be made?
Well, there's always room for improvement as far as I'm concerned. I would like to see a resource officer even in our elementary schools. I have had the opportunity to be with our resource officers in the high schools, and they do a fantastic job. Like Mr. Lush said, they're not only there for the kids' safety, but they're there as their mentors. Those children look up to those officers. If there's a problem, they go to them. They're not afraid to go to them. They stop issues and problems before they can happen. I would like to see a resource officer in every school. It's always best to be overly safe than underly safe. Like, that's just the way it is. So I would like to see an officer in every school. I think our officers do a fantastic job. And I would, if elected, look into funding to try to get a resource officer in every school. Thank you.
Bob Sheridan, the same question to you, please.
Yes, this is maybe my pet project. Maybe from being a police officer, I take safety at the highest concern. Let's face it, we're not living in yesterday. Just looking at Sandy Hook, looking at what is happening in the last few weeks in our schools, we have problems, okay? I've been working with my fellow members of the board since the last couple of years. We have all new metal detectors, not only in our high schools, our administration buildings. We're putting new security system doors in our grade schools. We're making sure that before you get into a grade school, if you're identified, that we know who you are. We're doing things now that would do a search on your mental background. I'm currently in negotiations with our busing company and our school board and our Scranton Police Department that will put cameras on our buses, several cameras, and I believe 8 on the interior, on the exterior, on the gates. When the gates open, when people pass our buses and do violations that pass our buses and jeopardize our children from getting hit, that it will zoom in and do a violation and write a citation on them. It will monitor the driver if he's going too fast for conditions on our school buses. So I've been working very hard to make sure our schools are very safe for every child, because like I said, it's not yesterday. Today is a whole new society in safety in our schools. But I think that we're doing a very good job in our schools, and we've got a lot more to go to.
Okay, thank you. And Rob Casey, the same question to you. How safe are our schools?
First off, I'd like to applaud our board for the steps that they are taking right now. I've been to school board meetings over the summer when they first developed the plan to bring the new metal detectors into the schools. But obviously, like Carol said, there's always room for improvement. That being said, I think, I don't know, like Kyle said, that it's not up to date right now on the school board website, but I don't know if it's written in there already, but when contracted workers come into our schools, that they have a background check before entering our school, like before being allowed in. Now maybe somebody could answer that for me, I don't know. But if that's not in there, I would like to see that in there because we just cannot send an air-conditioned maintenance man into our school if he has a prior history. It's not safe. I know my mother, she's a teacher, like I said, and her classroom in McNichols, it's an open floor policy. It's open floor, there's no walls. So there's a door that directly leads to outside, and she never knows who is gonna hit on the back door, and it could be a gunman. So there needs to be tightened security approaches that go throughout all of our schools, not just the high schools, but all the way down to our elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question, and I want to talk about an issue. And Cy, you'll have 2 minutes. Everyone will have 2 minutes, but Cy, you'll answer this question first. So we've talked about money. We know that money is a problem. But besides money, what is the most pressing issue that's facing our district at this time? And how should the school board address it? Because, a lot of times you'll identify a problem, but it's not necessarily something that's within the purview of the school board. So how can you, as a school board member, address that particular problem that you believe is the most pressing issue for our school district? And again, you've got 2 minutes.
Okay. The pressing issue in the district right now is the 3 elementary schools in the south side. We are above capacity at Whittier School. We're at capacity at the Plaza. We're at capacity at Kennedy. And we have 89 new housing units about to open between the 2 construction projects at Davis Street and down on Cedar Avenue that are going to directly impact the Plaza, McNichols Plaza, and the Kennedy School. We are at meltdown stage at our 3 elementary schools on the south side. So what we've done now is we've entered into negotiations with the Diocese of Scranton to lease what was formerly known as the Nativity School. That gives us 12 classrooms, a library, a science room, a full gymnasium that we can probably have access to no later than fully ready to go with technology in the classrooms in September. That is an immediate need that has to be addressed, and if we don't, we are going to be at meltdown. And that's what we're doing there as the second half of that answer. That we are really not seeing empty seats anywhere in the city. Scranton High is above 1,900 on East School right now, first time ever. That's above capacity. West Scranton has a few seats, and it may require a hard look there at the boundaries in the city, because we just don't want to see Scranton High get larger in terms of its population. We have almost no seats available in our elementary schools around the city, and where we do have availability, it's not uniform. We may have a few seats at one level and then not any seats for 3 or 4 more grade levels in the same building. So we're really, right now, that is our issue. Replacing what was the Audubon School is going to be something that we have to look at. We can't close any buildings in Scranton. We can only look at how we're going to acquire new space and hopefully construction of a new building in the Upper Hill to replace the Audubon building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bob Lush, the same question to you. What is our most pressing problem, and how can you, as a school director, address that?
I'd have to agree with Director Donahue. We do have a lot of issues with our student population in South Scranton, our elementaries. Unlike Philadelphia or other surrounding districts, we're growing, and it's just a problem that's here. And again, I'll refer to Mr. Donahue as far as some of the new housings that's going to open. And right now, presently, our administrators are working on a plan as to what to do and how to deal with this. We don't know. Is there going to be a shift of people from maybe Hilltop Manor down to the new development in Minooka? All right. Are they going to shift people from North Scranton to Southside, vice versa? We don't know. So again, that is, I would say right now, that is probably one of our biggest problems, and we are addressing it.
Okay, thank you. Carol Lesky, the same question to you. What is our most pressing problem, and how can you, as a board member, address that problem?
Well, thank you. I do believe overcrowding is a major issue in our district. Not currently being on the board, I don't have the information of the numbers in which schools and where our problems lie, but I would like to see a meeting with the stakeholders in the areas, say South Scranton, is an issue. Let's get the taxpayers, the teachers, the administrators, the students, and come together as a group to try to make a decision what would be the best interest of all that are involved. You know, we really need to get our payers involved, and I really would like to see more taxpayers, students, and more task force and stakeholders involved in any high decisions that we make. So overcrowding is an issue. I would like to, if I'm elected to the board, I would definitely sit down and work with the other directors on what would be the best for our area. I mean, and the area in which it affects. I know boundary exceptions, I think, may be something we need to look into. I think a lot of times, like Mr. Lush had said, children move, they go into different areas, and we need to reamp our boundaries. So many issues, I think, many things we need to look into.
Thank you. Mr. Sheridan, yeah, and pull that closer too. Thank you. The same question, what's our most pressing problem and how can you address it?
Well, the most pressing question is the overcrowding of schools. I am one that believe one-on-one education is the best that we need. Our classrooms with large amount of students in it are not good. New schools that we build with overcrowding is not good. Myself, Mr. Dwight, and Mr. Lesh went to and sat with the staff at St. Mary's, sat with the staff with Father Mike down at the Nativity, and worked out the plans to make these schools available to take care of some of the overcrowding. We're looking at possibly building a new school in East Scranton, which will take a big part of the overcrowding up. There is rumors that we're going to close Prescott. Well, let's put that to bed right now. We are not closing Prescott. We need that school open at every available school that we do have. But we are working on this continuously. We're putting many hours in this because I feel that it is the biggest problem that we're dealing with right now, because good quality education and one-on-one education is one of my priorities.
Okay, thank you. Rob Casey, the same question to you. What is our most pressing problem?
The most pressing problem, obviously, is the overcrowding in Southside. That's the part of the area where I'm from. I would have qualified to go to Whittier, but I went to Nativity until 8th grade, until I went to Scranton. And I could say that Nativity is a well-adequate school to house these children for education. If I'm elected, I would like to see a panel that is formed between the superintendent, the principals of the Southside elementary schools, and then 2 representatives from each school's PTA association. And they come back to the board and make a possible suggestion on what to do with that. Alongside with that, I don't think we should just stop there. I think we should make a forecast for the next 5 to 10 years population so we don't run into this problem 10 years down the road and we're back at square one. I think those are possible steps that we can take to maybe limit the overcrowding. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, the same question to you, please.
I also agree that overcrowding in Southside is the main pressing concern at the moment for the district. I also agree with Rob that we have to bring all the stakeholders from Southside, from each school, the principals, and put them in a room and try to work out solutions together. And with regards to population trends, I think we really have to get into population trends because from what I've been looking at on the census.gov is that a lot of the population increase in Southside is more immigrant populations. So we just need to be prepared for those different populations and how we have to educate them so that they could get the education that they deserve.
Okay, thank you.
May I have a rebuttal opportunity?
Yes.
Okay, a couple things I want to point out. In 2006, the McKittrick report was commissioned by the district as a long-range study plan, and it has obviously turned out to be flawed. And it is something that, in agreement with, I think, a number of people on the panel talked about a long-range plan. I think it's definitely something we have to take a look at redoing, because the basis of the McKittrick report was that the city was shrinking and our student population was going to diminish. Well, that's obviously not true. It has been steadily growing over the last 10 years, and our biggest population are in our earliest grades, K1, 2, 3, 4. That's our largest population. The boundary exceptions have been addressed, Carol, and right now we have a freeze. There are no boundary exceptions being allowed unless there is an extreme case of hardship presented because of what happened in Southside. And then, as far as an information session is concerned, we've had them, and we're going to continue to have them. We have one at Harmon Field, right? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I'm going to ask you a pie-in-the-sky question now. And Bob Lush, you get the first opportunity, and this will be a 90-second response time. So, you know, obviously money is always an issue. Money makes the world go round. So let me ask you, out of the box, pie in the sky, if you could do anything, that money wasn't an object, all right? I won the lottery. Money is no object whatsoever. What would you want to implement in the school district to make this the best possible school district for our kids? If money wasn't an object, what would you want to see happen in our school district? And Bob, you get it first.
Well, if I had all the money in the world and I could spend it on education, well, certainly I'd probably want to
And pull your microphone over so we can hear you.
Sorry. I'd probably like to build more new schools, obviously. I'd like to hire more teachers so we could have smaller classes, so we can have more one-on-one education. I mean, if we had money, there's no boundaries. And, you know, I'm not saying just to have money and spend it foolishly. I'm talking about truly spending it on education, a one-on-one education with our kids. And that's what we deal with now. I mean, our classrooms are just at the brink. And we do not have the funding. We keep getting all these mandates from the state. And I've learned this over 16 years. All these mandates, unfunded, underfunded. If I had a wish and a dream, not only money, but I wish the state legislator would just give us a break, okay, and be cooperative with us, all right, for a little while. You know, we're the guy at the bottom of the barrel. All right, and it just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And I learned that, you know, it starts at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and it ends right here, ladies and gentlemen, right here at this debate tonight. We are the people with the final decision. And for the last 16 years, I've been making that decision. Very, very hard decisions. And let me tell you, unpopular decisions that you've probably wrote about, or excuse me, heard about in our local paper. But you know what? It's not a popularity contest.
Bob, I'm sorry, but you're out of time again.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I can look at you. I apologize.
That's okay. Carol, I'm going to ask you the same question. Out of the box, you know, what would you do to make this the best possible school district if money wasn't an option?
Well, for one, student achievement is a major issue with me in education. And I would give the teachers the tools that they need to whatever they need for our classrooms. You know, our classrooms are overcrowded, and that makes it so unfair for everyone that's involved. I guess I would build a new school to make sure that our classrooms had lower numbers in it, which would be more fair to our teachers and our students. You know, nobody likes to see the overcrowding in classrooms, and we know what that impact that does on our children's education. So I would build a huge school and make sure that technology and supplies and equipment is all given to our teachers to do the best job that they can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Sheridan, the same question to you, and pull the microphone over. Thank you.
Yes, if I had all the money in the world, the first thing I would is achievement, like Carol said, and quality education. I would make sure that every one of our children had the best textbooks in the system that we can get. Make sure that they have the equipment to get the better education that they know how. Second of all, I would make sure that every one of our schools are the most safest school in the city, or in the United States, I'm sorry, in the United States. Make sure every child, from the time you drop your child off at our schools to the time you pick up your child, that child is safe, and there's nobody that can ever get into our schools and harm one of our kids. That's one of my priorities. But one-on-one education, and make sure our children have good quality education with the right textbooks that they should have.
Great, thank you. And Rob Casey, the same question to you. Pie in the sky, you can have anything in the world. What would you want for our school district?
Not only would I just want the best textbooks, I would just want textbooks in general that each kid has, that they can take home with them, And also, I would also like the best technology available. Times are changing. It's not the same schools that you all went to. Sorry. But technology is taking over. We're slowly going from textbooks into the technology era, and kids, 5-year-olds, they have iPhones. I didn't have my first cell phone until I was a freshman in college. So I think we really need, if I had all the money in the world, I would bring technology and I would do more technological-based learning. I think that's what keeps everything current as far as history classes, or not history classes, I'm sorry, just classes where you can keep up on current events like civics. We would be able to go on every single day and stay current with things that are going on daily. Too many times you see kids that aren't, right now, that they don't know what's going on in the government, in the world, and I feel like if we had all the money in the world, we could supply them with that, and they would be better for that when they got to college. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, the same question to you. Pie in the sky, what do you want for the district?
I would also have to go with technology. I'd give every child a computer and then develop programs that teach that child how to effectively use technology to learn. As all of you know, there's so many bogus things and pie-in-the-sky things that are on the internet. But one of the things that I think that we still, even without pie-in-the-sky money, need to do is teach children how to use the technology that they have available to them in a way that would most effectively increase their learning capabilities.
Okay, thank you. And Cy, the question to you, pie in the sky, what would you want?
Well, you could see a generation gap here. Teachers and students in smaller classrooms work best, but smart classrooms, and these guys are right, they really are right, the smart classrooms that we have here at the university are remarkable. I mean, the opportunities for our kids to interact not only with each other, but with the greatest library in the world, which is the world. It's remarkable. But if I had pie in the sky, king for a day, we'd have small classrooms, and we'd have teachers with all-day aides at the earliest levels to make those babies the best prepared they can be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next question, and I'm going to do a 1-minute response time, and I'm going to get yelled at for my timer on this one, but I am going to do a 1-minute response time. And I want to talk about transparency. It was, part of my opening that we believe in transparent government. It's the only way that all of us can really be involved. So Carol, you get this question first, 1-minute response time. Do you believe that the board acts with transparency, and what should we be doing? So, keeping the minutes and board policies up to date on the district's website, other ideas to improve the transparency of board actions. And I have to tell you, even finding out exactly what the school board is responsible for is not an easy thing to do. So, from a transparency perspective, 1 minute, what do you think the board should be doing?
Well, I agree. I think, again, that's technology. I think in our day and age, we need to keep, everyone abreast of what's going on. And I think the minutes should be posted on the website in a timely manner. I believe that, there's always room for improvement. It's a learning tool. We learn every day, and we learn by working together. And I think when you have a board that works very well together, things get done, things get done. But I do believe that, we need to upgrade our website, and we need to keep everybody, afloat of what's going on, and I agree on that.
Okay, thank you. Bob Sheridan, do you believe the board is transparent, and what else should be done to make it easier for citizens to be involved?
I do believe it's transparent. I have to give credit to our Joe Brazil and his department with that, and making sure the website is up to date all the time. And I really believe in that, because you are the voters, you are the parents of our children in our schools, and you should know everything that goes on in our schools with your children at all time, and with this board, our decisions on the better and behalf of your children. So I think transparency is a very big issue, and that we should have an open door continuously with the parents and the citizens.
Okay, thank you. Rob Casey, is the board transparent, and what else should be done?
I feel that it is. It's a very tough job being on the board. I mean, I hope to be there, but I feel like you said the minutes should be on the website and updated in a timely fashion. I feel like it's too hard for concerned citizens who have so much going on with their day-to-day lives to get there on a Thursday night or whenever they hold them during the week, that the next day in the newspaper they have to read a little piece that happens in the paper. And they may not find out, if they don't read that, what happened at the board. They hear by word of mouth. And I feel like when you hear by word of mouth, that's how rumors get spread. And I feel like you don't know the truth. So I really hope that the minutes will be updated and in a timely fashion so that everybody knows, because they're voting for the people that are in there and they want to know what's going on, because it's too difficult to get there with everything that's going on in people's lives today. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, the same question to you. Is the board transparent, and what else should be done?
Well, I think that, like Rob said, it's difficult to be on the school board, but I think that every effort possible needs to be made to make sure that you are transparent. With regards to the current website, the latest budget that's on the website is a 2012 proposed budget. It wasn't even the final budget. And it's one of those where revenue was 114 million and the expenditures was 117 million. But it's not even a line item. It's 4 pages long. The first page lists 10 expenditure categories. The second page is local estate taxes revenue. Third page is state revenue, and the fourth page is federal revenue. And that's all that there is. There's no way to honestly look at the budget and see, well, where could we cut? Where could we maybe do better? And I think that the website is a great tool to do that. And one way of doing that is at the work session, a week before the meeting, you post everything that's on the agenda for the next week on the website so that anyone that's coming to the meeting will have in hand what is going to be talked about at the meeting the following week.
Okay, thank you. Cy, the question to you.
I think we could probably do a better job of informing the public of what's about to happen and about what we've actually done. And I think everybody here has said that the website, at times, it's just so, it lags so far behind. I believe that that's a staffing issue, and I do believe it's not because they're incompetent. I believe because they're shorthanded. I really do believe that. I also think that the boardroom, as venerable as it is, I mean, we want to talk about transparency. Let's talk about physically attending a board meeting. Has anybody tried to do that? I mean, you'd have an easier time getting a Pacquiao championship fight ticket than to get into our boardroom for an important meeting. I think it's time we think about moving the board meetings out of the boardroom into the auditorium at Scranton High, where there's plenty of parking, and it's a secure, bright, modern location. Thank you.
Okay, and Bob Lesh, the question to you.
I'd just like to start out that we have spent probably $8 million on technology in the last few years. Unfortunately, the priority is for our students as far as technology goes, and keeping the district running day to day is really, it's not an easy task as far as our technology department, and they are quite overwhelmed. But I would like to say, as far as transparency, yes, there's always room for improvement. And I do agree with Director Donahue as far as, going from, there down to Scranton High School. We have done that. We've been to Scranton High School, and in the 2 years that I was board president, we had moved to numerous sites. We had, we've gone to church basements to make it more convenient. All right? Do we need to make improvements? Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have one last question before we move into the closing statements. And Bob Sheridan, you'll answer this question first. And I'm going to make this one also a 1-minute response. But I have a statement first. So this question pertains to your policy, the board policy on vacancies. From the Times Tribune editorial on October 18th, this is what it said. The board should adopt a policy for filling vacancies that requires a reasonably long application period, outreach to minority communities for candidates so that the board can look a bit more like the diverse student population, public posting of the applications and qualifications qualifications of candidates, mandatory rejection of any candidate who is already on the ballot for another seat, and a mandatory public discussion and vote on any deviation from the policy. So that was in the Times-Tribune editorial on October 18th. And as I've said in the beginning, we've had several resignations of directors recently. So this is an important policy for the board. So my question for you, and Bob Sheridan, it goes to you first, is do you think that such a policy is in line with what we, the citizens, expect of our elected officials? And will you propose and or support implementing this type of policy?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, I do agree. We should have a policy in hand for appointing new directors. In fact, on the 17th of this month, I become the acting president of the Scranton School Board, and immediately on talking to my board, I contacted Mr. King and told him immediately to put Mr. Barrett's position on the advertisement and on our website and open up the application process from now until at least the 7th, which is our work session of November, 7th November, which then at that time, we will have an open process for everybody to see, and then we will have an interview process for appointing a new candidate, or new position to the school board.
Okay, thank you. And Rob Casey, the question goes to you.
I feel that we do need to have a long and extensive policy and process to fill that position. I think we should have it online, ads in the newspapers, use every available resource that we have at our fingertips to get the best possible person, because if it's not going to be decided by you, the people, then we need to make sure we have the right person to fill that vacancy. And I would support that. I just feel that with the use of all technology, we can get the best possible candidate to fill that position. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle, the question to you, please.
I think that, could you please repeat the question? I'm sorry.
So the question is, do you think that such a policy is in line with what we, the citizens, expect of our elected officials? And will you propose and or support implementing this type of a policy?
I think that policy is a good policy to have, because all too often for good government, I've been on this good government kick, but all too often for good government, that the process matters more than the outcome. So if the same outcome is reached in 3 days or 30 days, the 30-day process is better form of government. It allows for public input, for directors to take the time to really comprehend and understand the candidates that are applying for the board appointment. Thank you.
Okay. And Cy, the question goes to you.
The Times editorial contained a few elements that I could say were positive, but I have 2 words for Mr. McKenna: representative government. That's why directors are placed on the board, to make decisions on behalf of the people who put them there. Now, the state code is clear. The board is to pick. Now, entertaining applicants is obviously what we have to do. How we value each and every one of those applications is up to the individual director. And then they vote. Now, I was a 3-day appointment. I learned of Sean O'Shea's resignation watching it on Channel 16. I walked my resume into the board secretary, Mrs. Orr, the next morning. I didn't need to see an ad. I was already running for the board. I think representative government is the answer to Mr. McKenna's editorial.
Okay, thank you. Bob Lesh, the question goes to you.
I totally agree with Director Dwyer as far as representative government. You know, we are elected to make these decisions. And again, you know, you've got to let us do our job. It's not a popularity contest, and we're not going to please everybody. We're not going to pick the person you want, okay, or she wants, or he wants. We're going to pick the person that we want, that we feel is going to be the best fit, that's going to be the best person to do the best job. That's what we were elected to do, to make these decisions. And they're not easy. They're not easy and they're not popular.
Okay, thank you. And Carol, the question to you.
Well, I do agree, and I believe that the way that the board is doing it and handling it, this situation, actually, I did see the ad in the paper this morning, with it being going before November 7th, and applications being taken in, and interviews is the proper way to do it. And then it is up to the board members to choose who they feel is the best qualified. We elect those officials, and we put our trust in them to do what's right. And therefore, I believe that they're acting on what they feel is right.
Okay, thank you. That concludes our question time with our candidates for the Scranton School Director. We'll now move into closing statements. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes for a closing statement. We drew names before the event started, and Carol Lesky will give the first closing statement. A reminder that Carol is on the Republican ballot. She is one of the candidates for the open 4-year seats. Remember, this is a general election, so you vote for your choice on either the Republican or the Democratic ticket. But Carol's name you'll find on the Republican line and also for the 4-year position. So Carol, 2 minutes for you.
Thank you. And again, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing us to come here this evening on this forum. I'd like to thank the audience for being here this evening. It shows how important it is to you all to be here and see what we're all about. So what I'd like to say is 8 months ago I started on this adventure, knocking on hundreds and hundreds of doors. And I had a mission, and that was education is extremely important to me, and I have the record of being a mom and a foster parent and putting over 100 children. If I really told you the amount, it's probably like 160. Through our Scranton School District, being a mother of 6 children, I've been inside, serving as a PTA president, serving as a vice president, serving as a secretary. I have what I feel it takes to be our next director. I worked very hard, and I believe hard work pays off. I believe everybody should be you should work hard and do what you need to do. If I'm elected, I will continue to work just as hard for the children and the taxpayers of our community. I also, I understand the importance of our education, and education, like I said, is extremely important to me. So I humbly ask for your support on November 5th. And thank you again for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. That's Carol Lesky. Bob Sheridan will give his closing statement next. Remember, Bob is also running for the 4-year seat, and you will see his name on both the Republican and the Democratic tickets. He made it through on the primary on both tickets. So, Bob, your 2 minutes.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank the Women's League of Voters for having me here tonight, and the ladies and gentlemen in the audience for listening to us and hearing us out and the answers. And there were some good answers throughout this board tonight. 4 years ago, I ran on a platform on quality education and not raising taxes and keeping good quality education for our children. 4 years ago, the first half hour in my seat when I sat down, I had to take a vote on they were raising taxes in our school district. I voted no. And since then, I voted no. But yet, I kept my eye open for good quality education. I worked with this board with my 2 colleagues, Bob Lush and Cy Dwyer. Cy's only been with us 6 months, but he's been doing a successful job. But I sat with them and my other board members, and we worked out not only a contract with their teachers that we're facing, a contract with our maintenance people that we're facing, a $5.5 million budget deficit from the governor of this state. A lot of uphill battles, but we worked late to make sure that every child got good quality education, safety in our schools, and made sure that our taxes were upheld. We kept every all-day kindergarten. We saved all our sports programs. We didn't lay off one teacher. We didn't lay off one employee. And we didn't raise your taxes. That was a decent, pretty good job, I feel. I felt that I've upheld my job to you in the last 4 years, and I'm asking for another 4 years, and I promise you I will even work harder to make sure that our schools are safe and our children have good quality education. Thank you very much for having me here tonight again.
Thank you, Bob Sheridan. Next, we have Robert Casey. You'll see his name on the Democratic ticket, again for the 4-year seat. Rob, it's up to you.
Thank you again for having us here tonight. 8 months ago when I started this process, I was so nervous. I didn't know where to begin. I didn't know if anybody would take me serious or not, but I remember being at Director Sheridan's first party, and they asked me if I wanted my name announced, and I shied away from that. I take where I am today as a step in the right direction. I know that if I'm elected, I didn't get there on my own. I surrounded myself with correct people. I listened to everybody's advice, and I know that I still have a lot more to learn. I know that if I trust what's on the bottom of my sign, I will always make decisions for the children and the taxpayer of our district. If it's not benefiting the children or the taxpayers, then who is it benefiting? It should only benefit us. Or it should only benefit you, I'm sorry, the children and the taxpayers. But I hope that on November 5th you can give me a chance to maybe one day make a difference for my family and your family in the future, because I can't let someone make decisions that are going to affect my family's future and just stand by it and have nothing to do with it. I would like for your vote on November 5th, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert Casey. Next, we have Kyle Donahue. Kyle is on the Democratic ticket, and he is running for the unexpired two-year seat. So you'll see his name in a separate office. Basically, it's still school board, but it's for a two-year seat. So Kyle, your 2 minutes.
I'd like to first thank the league for hosting this forum tonight. As Mr. Lush said before with regards to board appointments, the board was elected to make decisions, but when you're elected, you also have the responsibility to make educated decisions about what's best for the district. And I'm not questioning Mr. Donahue qualifications, but there's no way the board could have made an educated decision in the hour that the resumes were due at 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock when the meeting was held. There's just no possible way to really make an educated decision and talk amongst yourselves about it. I started this process only 6 weeks ago. Everyone else had the opportunity to have a primary and all that. But so I've learned a lot about the school district in the last 6 weeks, and I'm eager to learn more. One of the things that we really must take for a strong city, we need a strong school district. And to have a strong school district, the people must demand the school board that will respect their opinions and take all opinions into consideration before making educated decisions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kyle Donahue. And next we'll hear from Cy Duahi. Cy is running for election on one of the four-year seats, and you'll see Cy's name on both the Republican and the Democratic tickets. Cy?
Thank you. Once again, thanks to the league, and thanks to all of our audience tonight for having come out and listened to us. And thanks to all the candidates. Everybody's opinion is welcome. And the kind of differences that are manifested themselves tonight are pretty typical of what happens at a school board meeting. And you walk out and you go have coffee. So it's all good. We don't have to agree on everything, but we certainly do respect each other, and we respect each other's efforts. As a graduate of Central High School in 1964, I went away to school for 4 years and missed this town every day, no question. My family was here, my friends were here. There's just something about the people who live in this town that make me always want to stay here. We travel, we have a good time when we do it, but this is where I live, and this is where I've made my home, and I want to continue to make a positive impact on the system as well as the city. And as Kyle just stated, this city can't move forward if this district isn't healthy and high functioning. The school district has to be one of the best in the state. It has to be always looking to improve itself. We have to put the best efforts we have into these schools for children. We owe it to them. We can't take it any other way. I hope you all get out on November 5th to vote. It's one of the greatest rights we have. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Cy Duahi. And finally, Bob Lush. Bob, you'll see his name in two places on the ballot. Bob is a candidate for the 4-year seat on the Republican ticket, and also a candidate for the 2-year seat, also on the Republican ticket. So you'll see his name in two places. So Bob, your closing, please.
I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters again for having me here tonight, and our great auditor again. What I'd like to say is, you know, I have spent 16 years serving the citizens of the city of Scranton. I have spent 16 years serving the school district of the city of Scranton. I have been a very dedicated director. I've taken a lot of things to heart. Have I made every decision right? No. Do I wish I could? Yes. I'm human. I make mistakes. I get frustrated just like everybody else. But I love this district. I love those kids. And I want to do the best for those kids. So, on November 5th, I ask you humbly for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's Bob Lush. I want to thank all the candidates for joining us here this evening and for their commitment to democracy. Again, they will be, and those who are serving now are elected volunteers. They don't get paid for their service. So how about a round of applause for all of our candidates? Thank you, guys. I'd also like to thank the University of Scranton for hosting our events, and also ECTV, and our president, Diana Dakey, and the other members of the League of Women Voters who have worked diligently to gather all the candidates and get everyone here this evening. I always like to close with my favorite quote: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Remember that your vote counts on November 5th, and we'll see you then. Thanks so much.